I'd want to explain the India part as well. If the Adventure R were to come here with its 270 mm saddle height and the 230 mm of suspension travel, many of us would think that bike is just too much for us in terms of height. Therefore, KTM's taken the very, very interesting approach of saying, can we have a middle order motorcycle? So the X has similar suspension travel, not all the electronics and not such sophisticated suspension at a great price point. And the model we're discussing today has all the IMU equipped electronics. So you've got traction control, you've got ABS that you can switch off, you've got 3 riding modes, you've got cruise control as standard, etc. And it's got adjustable suspension, and it's got tubeless tires, and it's got the 21/17 setup, whereas the Adventure R has a 18-inch rear wheel. So it's a more serious off-roader that way too.
One sec. And all this for $6,000 more?
From the previous one, yes, but now for the moment it is the most expensive KTM in the country today at 361 X showroom.
Well, that's a lot more bike than before. I mean, if you just
It's a massively good deal.
Wow. Because the old one was also 1917, right? That wasn't even a 21.
No.
It was a 1917 and
Yep.
it didn't have any of this.
No.
Wow. Okay.
And they've pulled out a lot of the stops. So the tubeless tires, it's a very simple construction in the sense it's a regular spoke rim, as it were. Slightly different mechanical construction inside, but more or less the same thing. There's a piece of tape that covers the spoke nipples, and there's a rubber thing that clips into place, which is what the hardware difference is. And once it clips into place, it becomes a tubeless rim. It's a KTM patent, which means there is no restriction on how many of these they can import and sell in the domestic market.
So are they making this here in India or are they importing?
Whether they're importing those 2 rubber pieces or they're making them here, I'm not sure.
Oh, so it's a regular rim?
But it's just a regular rim, yeah.
Oh.
It's just a regular rim. And they use this solution on their bigger machines already. And therefore, if this solution causes any long-term issues, you should be able to go to KTM forums globally and look up what the issues with these tubeless wheels are. But in theory, the spoke, the 2 pieces of rubber are 3 units, and whatever breaks, you can replace one of them, and in theory, and you can continue to have tubeless rims.
Nice.
And unlike the Himalayan, which has odd tire sizes, so sometimes finding upgrade tires and replacement tires can be challenging. These are KTM's international tire sizes, a 1990 front and a 130 something rear. There's tons of tires in these sizes in India and outside. In India, you do get touring oriented road tires for this bike. In these sizes, you also get knobbies, which are marked as not for road use, also in India already. Timson has some, etc., etc. But the tires it comes with, which is the Trampler from Apollo, brilliant tire. It works really well on this bike. The Seat on the Himalayan 450, also excellent tire. The Trampler is at least as good, if not 10-15% better in almost all situations.
You didn't... Okay, anyways, that we'll get to later. Because there was that wet roads thingy about the performance.
Yes, but on the Himalayan, that's a bigger issue because there are no electronics to back you up. It's got electronics, so it's not a problem.
Okay, fine. Now, curiosity is on full power. Let's talk from the saddle. What is it like first time you got on the bike?
So the first time I saw this bike, it was in a parking lot with like a series of these bikes parked, and they look big, right? Because I mean, it's like the Dakar look, as they call it. I'm not entirely convinced that it looks all the way like the Dakar motorcycle, but okay, whatever, inspired by. So you've got this tall fairing and all of this kind of thing, right? So the first, you're like, that looks kind of big. Not Himalayan big though. Modern big.
Himalayan is long.
Yeah,
I think more
the Himalayan has a different kind of bigness to it, and this KTM looks modern big. Modern big is not always heavy big. It is just physically large. Then when you get on the seat, you're like, oh hey, this is not tall, because the 825 is not clicked into your head, right? It's not tall. My feet are down like naturally. You're not like doing 1 foot to 1 foot to 1 foot as you would, for example, on an X-Pulse Rally kit, right, or a Rally Pro or whatever they call it now. You're not doing that dance. You're sitting like, hey, this is just a street bike. Then you realize it's a really narrow motorcycle.
I'm sorry, because you brought it up, now that questions come up. The Rally, whatever, do you have any numbers on that? I mean, what's the seat height like on that?
If I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, please, it was 905 mm on the X-Pulse Rally kit.
Okay, but it's super slim, okay. And the ground clearance, do you remember? 220 or something like
that? On the X-Pulse? 270, 250, some big number like that.
Oh,
massive number.
And this is 247, you said?
This is
237.
Right? So you have 230 mm of ground clearance, you have an 825 mm seat, and you sit down and your feet just, I'm 6 foot tall for reference. My feet are flat on the ground and my knees are slightly bent. stock preload, which is 2 from soft.
Okay, fine. So it feels low enough.
And then it feels super narrow because it's narrow. And then you realize it's a dirt bike. I mean, they're supposed to be narrow. I mean, when I rode the Africa Twin for the first time, which is not a super narrow motorcycle, but as you ride it, the feeling of the Africa Twin is this is a narrow motorcycle, whereas a lot of the other ADVs feel like a broad motorcycle. All the dirt bikes I've ever had a privilege of riding, various people's personal motorcycles, they've always felt super skinny and narrow. The KTM 390 Adventure is super skinny and narrow.
So
And then on the Himalayan, your legs spread out a little bit wider. On the
Because
KTM,
it's
they do
tank,
not.
yeah.
They do not. And then on the Himalayan, again, just for reference, you have this handlebar that sort of opens your chest out. No, it's a normal narrow-ish handlebar. Not super narrow, but narrow. At this point, you'll also notice that this KTM Adventure has bar end vibration dampers. Now, I want you to open any KTM global website and look at the same motorcycle, you discover they do not have the vibration dampers. It's an India specific thing because our expectation of vibration is different from theirs.
correct.
Which means if you were to remove the vibration damper because you accept vibrations as normal for a large cylinder, we'll talk about it in detail, then you will get a little bit of a weight reduction out of that too.
All right.
Right? Then you'll notice these enormously thick rubber inserts on the serrated pegs. These are forged foot pegs. They were forged the last time around also, they still are. That angle thing that became very famous as an issue, fixed. They're horizontal and flat.
Okay.
And they've got a massively thick rubber. And that massively thick rubber is another sign that this bike has some amount of vibration in it. Which again, Austria thinks is just fine. But for India, expectation management needs to be done. And therefore, a lot of work has gone into managing the expectation to the point where your primary experience of vibration on this bike is one, a feeling, and I'll talk about it, and the foot peg.
Hi, it's me, Karthik, the one who's generally laughing and just going along with Shumi's jokes. You can catch all the jokes on the main channel. That's where they're all there. Right now, this is a bit of the serious conversation, but you can catch all the fun factor on the full video, which is on the motoring channel. So head out there and subscribe. And if you want more of these shorter clips, do subscribe to this channel as well.